we're going to get right to the point of the video today. Cost of college is way too expensive. Today we're going to go through a couple of charts and I'm going to show you how much it's increased over the last couple of years. First chart you see here begins in the year 1963. You will notice here that it begins right around $5,000. This is average tuition and fees for undergrads. These are your associates and bachelor's degrees. By 2022, it has increased almost $10,000. That's a $10,000 increase over less than 50 years. Let's just think about that. And you're going to ask, well, if it's increasing, then why are the students not taking loans? Why are they not taking, why are they not asking parents for money? Here's why. This begins in 2006, takes us all the way up to 2024. What you see here is measured in trillions of dollars. That's not millions, that's trillions. 2006 sees roughly $500 billion in student debt, and less than 20 years later, it's almost $2 trillion. Almost $2 trillion. Let's make it make sense. You can't. Why is this? Are colleges becoming for profit? Well, no, that's not true, because college has always been a market of for-profit education. Is it inflation? Well, I will tell you that those two charts you just saw are adjusted for inflation. Again, let's make it make sense, people. When we think about paying for college, we see that two of the most common ways we know of is taking loans, as I've discussed, and having the military pay for it. A loan works, but we have to remember that a loan is not free money. A loan has to be paid, and commonly at a particularly high interest rates. And let's consider that an 18-year-old kid just graduating high school, if they're lucky, they've had an education in what a loan is and the fact that the money isn't free. But how many of them have really been educated on what interest rates are? How many of them know how to read the fine print of the loan that they're signing? Very few. And that's the reason why many students choose the military as an option. Military is a fine option to pay for college, but not enough people understand, again, the fine print of that situation either. For every year of college that the military pays for, you owe them back a year of service. Sounds like a fair deal, till you consider that the military only counts the years in which it considers to be quote-unquote good quality years. If one of those years you manage to get injured and you are in what they call a non-deployable status, i.e. you cannot go to war, that year is not counted towards what you owe them back for education. Same way if you were to get into some kind of legal trouble, or if you were to have a write-up for any reason while you're in the military. Again, those years don't count either. And since we've discussed this, and these are not viable options, and another viable option, the scholarship. We hear about it so much. Yes, scholarships can help, but not everyone gets them. They are very competitive, and less than 10% of students, that's 1 in 8 students that apply for a scholarship, are considered for one. And the even more rare full-ride scholarship, including a scholarship where the college covers the cost of your education, room and board, meals, the whole thing. Less than 0.5%, 0.1% to be exact. That's the reason why the burden of the U.S. taxpayer to pay Pell Grants is such a concern. As a taxpayer, I want my money going into areas where I feel like it's neat, where I feel like it can be used. I have no issue with the Pell Grant system, but there are taxpayers out there that do. We can put a considerable amount of more students through college education and never have to touch how much money we're paying out on Pell Grants simply by reducing that education, or excuse me, by reducing the cost of that education. We'll use an example. If a college charges $1,000 in tuition, and 10 students want to apply, 10 students want to be covered, that's roughly $10,000. But if the college reduces that tuition to say $500, you literally double the amount of students that are coming out of that system. Sounds like a pipe dream. Well, I can assure you it's not, and here's the proof of it. On this chart, has some degree of a free college education. If it works for this many countries around the globe, why does it not work for every country? And I'm not saying I'm going to solve that problem, but because it's more of a thought exercise, but let's keep this in the back of our heads. Now, the problem of college tuition can very easily be solved. Get out there. Start talking about this. Start increasing how many people know about this. Call your senators. Call your representatives. Get on the phone with them and explain to them how important this is. Organize your grassroots efforts. Do your marches. Go knock on the doors of financial aid offices. Figure out why they're charging so much. Work with your educators, work with your senators, your representatives, those in power, and we can get this problem taken care of. You're going to say that, well, I'm one person and there's not a lot I could do. And that may be true, but people in mass have power. And the more of you that we get on this, the faster we'll get the problem solved and we will create solutions to it. You never know what you can do until